Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sah Viryam Karva Vahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahaihi. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. So we did verse 7 last time. We were talking about different theories of creation. They have a similar theme, but sometimes explained is slightly different. So I had explained everything of verse 7, that how the same Hiranyagarbha is called Aditi over here, and all the details. And so Swamiji's commentary is very crisp and small, but we'll just read that. And then we'll go to the next one. Who would like to read? Any volunteer to read? Neeluji.
So we are on page 211, 7. So he, Brahman, who was born as Prana, Hridaya Garbha, the soul of all Devtas, who was born as Aditi, the enjoyer, Hiranyagarbha, entering into the cave of the heart, abided therein, who was born with the 5 elements. This is verily that Brahman which thou hast asked for. Are you going to explain or shall I carry on?
So this, did you, because somehow the translation was, did you read the translation or you didn't?
No, this is where we were to start reading last time.
Mine says over here, this is verse 7, right? Ya pranena sambhavati aditi. वही वाला ना? तो मेरे में लिखा हुआ है the translation that Aditi Hiranyagarbha expressing as the prana, life having entered and existing as the soul of all the faculties within the body of 5 great elements, and is thus parentheses में as if born. This is indeed that. So I think
थोड़ा सा different है.
Yeah, थोड़ा सा. Never mind. So I can explain it. So यहाँ पर बताया गया है कि भाई, remember that we talked about, we are going backwards in creation now. So let's think of Brahman, which everybody knows now. You know what is Brahman. So Brahman is like there is a homogeneity in it, and there is oneness and no change and all that, right? Next step is what? Hiranyagarbha, meaning total mind. All the vasanas, the way, how do I explain that? Suppose प्रलय जिसको बोलते हैं, प्रलय हो जाए ना तो सब कुछ खत्म हो जाता है, but that वो seed form में सभी की वासना रहती है together. Total mind is still there, and then so in the next cycle, that Hiranyagarbha is energized by that Brahman only, basically. Yeah? उसको हमने हिरण्यगर्भ बोला था, लेकिन यहाँ पर वो सेम चीज को अदिति बोला है. And the reason Aditi bola, because the word Aditi means to eat or to enjoy. The actual translation is to eat. Other means to eat. That's how Tejamyananji explained. But in this context, the enjoyer, because the final enjoyer is that total mind only. That's one point. Second point we have to remember is, we may think that whatever I think and all, it's my thoughts, my this, my. Actually, you are affecting the whole universe. We never think of it that way, because our mind is connected to the total mind. So, just to kind of understand this concept, sometimes we see certain things in the society that we don't like, right? And we say, oh, kitna deteriorate ho gayi hai society and all that. The truth is, majority of people want that. That's why it is there. There is a collective consciousness get affected by it in that Hiranyagarbha form, and that expresses at what should I say, material level. Even the TV shows and all that, we might, condemn them, but the sad part, it is coming from people only, demand and supply. Even in the spiritual world, the same thing happens. Whatever we want, that's what universe supplies to us. But there is a collective effect. That's why they say अच्छे विचार रखो ऐसा वैसा, because individual, जितना individual progress करेंगे ना, उतनी society, cosmos, सभी का progress होगा. That's the whole thing over here. Drawing some other points out of this. That's what I'm doing. So basically, हिरण्यगर्भ को अदिति बताया, फिर वहां से प्राण शक्ति के रूप में it comes into the elements, because we have discussed that जो हमारी प्राण शक्ति किसको बोलते हैं, एक तो होता है कि भाई वायु को प्राण शक्ति बोलते हैं, we are taking breathing in and breathing out, but in the yogic science they call all the faculties in our body प्राण शक्ति, जो पचाने का काम करती है, circulation of blood, everything and all that, and also our 5 indriyas वो प्राण शक्ति की वजह से परसीव कर पाती हैं, हमारी आंखें देख पाती है. बिकॉज हमने डिस्कस किया था पहले कि अगर वो आई बॉल को आप रख दोगे टेबल पे, यू कैन नॉट सी, इट नीड्स दैट सीइंग पावर बिहाइंड इट, एंड दैट्स कॉल्ड द प्राण शक्ति. एंड सो इन द एलिमेंट्स it is there, the pran shakti, through the element it comes to us. Okay, that's why we say that they call them devatas. Like Surya Devata is a Devata for our eyes. Moon is for our mind. Like that, they have all different Devatas that energize our different faculties. And we cannot taste without water. So Varun Devata ho gaye wo. Without Varun Devata, we cannot taste. So that power of tasting is coming from the Brahman, through the Aditi, through the elements, through in our tongue. Now you got the picture how it travels. That's what they're talking about over here in this verse. So they're presenting this God's power as a pran shakti. In pehle kiya tha total intellect. When he talked about Hiranyagarbha, that was a total intellect. So any kind of people, intellectual people you see in this world, or some skills and everything, in their ignorance they might think, oh, I'm so great, but actually that power is coming from Brahman only, that it's traveling through them. They are the right patra, that's why it's coming. They are the right vehicle for it to transport. I think most of the people who are at that level, they kind of already know that it is coming from higher up. That's what I feel like, Even Einstein, he believed in God. Talked about it a lot. There are a lot of quotes from him. That's the nutshell they're talking about over here.
So, one question here. As it says, Brahman who was born as prana, I thought they say Brahman is never born, doesn't take birth. So is it Brahman or is it Brahmaji? I don't, it's some confusion for me at least.
They are just using this language, and Swamiji and other saints always warn you that don't take it in a very literal word meaning, because they are just trying to tell you they have to use these words, otherwise we don't understand. You are absolutely right. At that level, if you're talking about pure Brahman, nothing is born, nothing dies over there. But it is a reflection of the Brahman that happens. It's like heat is there in the main source, and you keep an iron ball there, the heat will transfer to the iron ball. But that is not the swabhava of the, heat is coming from that source. That's how you look at it. So when they say, can you say the heat is born in the iron ball? The iron ball is not capable of having the heat born, but it's borrowed. But they're just saying, they might say in the language, oh, heat is born in the ball or something, I'm just giving like why they are saying it. So your inquiry is correct, that at that level, nothing is born, nothing is, but because of that, the reflection, we are getting energized. That's why they call it born, that's all.
Umaji, can you, is it okay to say that Brahman is the enabler here?
Yes, it is. Like, I think the great example is sun. We always talk about that. Sun is energizing the earth, but sun is not participating in anything. That's all it is. So same way. Or gas in the car is a fantastic example too.
Yeah, enabler or illuminator.
Yes. And that's why in the totality, bad, good, everything is energized by it only. Negative energy is also energized by that only. In fact, Swamiji used to say that जो नास्तिक लोग बोलते हैं ना कि हम लोग भगवान को मानते नहीं हो, वो बोलने की शक्ति भी उनको वहीं से मिल रही है. Once you understand this, So that's why they say truth is such, whether you deny or accept it, truth will remain the truth. उसमें कोई change नहीं आने वाला है, whether you accept it or not. So true. What you are saying, Anilji, is 100% true. Any other question, comment? So in mine, the explanation is in three different paragraphs. So you can read, let's see, if it's same or not.
The word prana stands for Hiranya Garbha. Thus the meaning would be he who is born in the form of prana or as Hiranya Garbha.
So now we already discussed, right? So that it's the same thing like Aditi and Hiranyagarbha को same ही समझो और वहाँ पर total intellect बोला, यहाँ पर प्राण शक्ति बोल दिया बस.
Devatamai in the form of gods, the soul of the gods. Here Devata, God, stands for the presiding deities of the sense organs. The pranas, vital airs, are the life essence in the perception power of the indriyas.
So the word is Devatamai. Devatamai means, जो ये देवता है ना, उनको शक्ति वहाँ से ही मिल रही है. तो ब्रह्मन की शक्ति इसमें आई, अदिति में, अदिति से फिर देवताओं में आई. And then they are saying the presiding deity of sense organs. कौन है देवता? देवता वही जो मैंने बताया, सूर्य देवता, वरुण देवता, अग्नि देवता, वायु देवता. All of them are called devatas in our scripture. And the pranas, vital air, are the life essence in the perception power of the indriyas. Because our 5 indriyas have the power to perceive and give that information to the mind. And all that is energized by the devata. That's why we worship all these devatas. Because they are the one who give us the power to see, taste, hear, smell, everything, touch,
Umaji, but isn't it true, all the devtas, but we're really saying the energy behind it, behind each one. That is devta, right?
Yeah.
And that energy is basically the Brahman itself.
Final is getting from there. It's getting from there. It's like, the president is there and then he creates different departments.
Yeah.
But the power is coming from the higher one only.
Yes.
He has a power to fire and hire also. Right? So you can call these devatas at different departments. That's all. So you have a choice. If you want something, well, sometimes you may not have a choice also. Because you cannot approach everybody cannot approach the president directly. Sometimes you have to go through these channels. Like that's why they say कि योग शास्त्र में बहुत होता है ऐसे कि they see कि भाई आयुर्वेदा में भी कि तुम्हारी कौन सी प्राण शक्ति वीक है. Suppose किसी को eyes वीक हो तो वो उसको प्रिस्क्रिप्शन दिया जाएगा. एक तो जड़ी बूटी दी जाएगी जो भी, फिर बोलेंगे प्रेयर करो सूर्य देवता को. You may not think that but there is a connection. Okay.
Right.
Somebody has a taste, after COVID, we have this problem. We can't taste for a long time. So, those Vaidya might say, hey, you take this jadi booty, you eat this food, and now pray to Varun Devta. Do the mantras of Varun Devta. We may think it doesn't work. I met this one couple in Houston. They were devotees of Mahesh Yogi. And there was a shop, like an Ayurveda shop, and then they had they called it, I'm trying to think, they gave a very fancy name. Basically, they were healing by mantras. So koi bhi bimari ho, they had some ritual, they would meditate and they would so I never got it done, but I worked, huh?
Is that Reiki?
Reiki is also similar, but वो लोग जो करते थे ना वो different था. So because I became friends with them, because I had taken some summer job in that place, so they became very good friends with me. So मेरे को बताओ आप करते क्या हो अंदर, you know? And they told me the success rate is 99% people feel better. So he said हम लोग वेद मंत्र बोलते हैं, एनर्जाइज कुछ वाटर लेके एनर्जाइज करते हैं वेद मंत्र, एंड ऑल दे डू इज दे रिसाइट. सो आई सेड that time I was young and I'm like, does it really work? So you know what answer they gave? They said हमको मत पूछो कि work, हमको जो हमारा गुरु बोला ना वो हमने किया, and it works. He's saying गुरु की शक्ति आ रही है इसमें से. They could not explain to me that there is a scientific basis, but they were very genuine people. They're not going to lie to me. They said whoever we just follow what we are taught, but they also said that we have to lead a very pure life. They ate a certain kind of diet, they meditated, they cannot indulge with too many people, socializing, this, that, very, very strict lifestyle they have to follow. But they
became the vehicle.
They became the vehicle. That's exactly right. And they knew which mantras for what. I don't know all the details, but what I got out of them was, and it was not that cheap either. Their treatment was like $2,000-3,000. But people were paying that because it was working for them. So that's what that Pran Shakti and all that connection I'm telling you. That we don't think about those things, but there is a huge connection.
With the basic, but it is all coming from that one, right?
It is coming from that one.
So I'm taking the Ayurvedic medicine. At the same time, do I have to pray in a certain way, or I can pray Brahman only, in the form of like Om or something?
Yes, you can. Definitely. So
that would be different than what you are saying, with Shakti from that one to that, Sun Devta or Moon Devta, that I have to pray to that particular one, or do I pray the one above the main one?
The answer is, if you can go directly to the president and he will listen to you, then fantastic, do that. But to reach that Brahman is not that easy, because निराकार को की पूजा वगैरह करना बहुत मुश्किल है, right? इसके लिए, and that's one point. And the second point is, जो बहुत ऊंचा पहुंच गया ना consciousness में, वो bother भी नहीं करता है कि मेरे को दिख रहा है, नहीं जो सुन रहा है, nothing, because body is all these saints. But if you are at a level that you're not there yet and you want to fix that's when you can go to the departments. So it depends on what your goal of life is. If you want directly mukti, then you don't need to go to these indirect methods. True. But point is, the person who is going indirect method also finally is invoking Bhagwan only. It's just like when I go to a government department, that department is energized by that government only. Yes. Without the government, it has no power. कल को उसको काम से निकाल दिया तो तुम उसके घर जाके नहीं कुछ कर पाओगे, because उसका तो power ही चला गया. So just trying to understand this whole cosmos.
Right.
That's
right.
all.
Yeah.
So if somebody can approach higher and higher officials or directly the highest, Krishna Bhagwan always encourages you to go directly the highest.
What you're saying.
We discussed this earlier in Geeta, that there's a point when Arjun asked Krishna, why people are worshipping all these when they can go directly to you? And
we have come across that, yeah.
And Krishna's answer was, in order to worship me, you have to go through many lifetimes of purification before you can reach me. So there are hierarchies that one is God ultimately, and then there are shopkeepers below. And all these people, Hanuman and all these people, they are energies, and they are like, you give them something and they'll give you something in return. So that's the way the energy comes to you. Now, as far as the healer goes, one way was the one you just explained, that these people are doing mantras. But the idea is they are basically becoming a semiconductor and connecting to these energies.
Correct. Exactly. That's what they told me. Yeah.
And that's the way all healing is done. So you just make yourself neutral, either by doing mantra, like in sadhana rasayan, there's a Sikh people, they do that. I took that course. So what they say is, everybody has their own meditation space. And when you connect to them, you add to their meditation space by your space. And if your space is higher, then all the illness get distributed in the bigger space.
Oh,
And that cures you by diluting the illness you have.
interesting. Very
So
interesting.
that's one way to do that.
Yeah, there are people healers and they're, sorry.
Very clearly explained.
Yeah, I think very nicely Joe explained. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
there
you
is a
always wondered how
sadhana
did it happen. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Even I understood it.
no. I don't know if you know Shalini.
Yeah.
So I took a course with her, and she was my partner. So she healed me and I healed her. And they explained this way, and it worked.
Yeah. So there is a science behind it. It's not, some people might be dhongi in India and they might cheat people and all, but actually there is a whole science behind all this. And there are some people just given some siddhis to do this,
And another way to understand is, everybody you worship or you put in your mantra, all the people who are following them, their energy is with that world. So when you add those mantra, it adds up that energy, and that brings it through you. You are a semiconductor to the person.
Interesting. I think that's why in Christianity they have this, no, कि कोई बीमार होता है तो वो सभी को बोलते हैं प्रे करने के लिए, है ना? तो उसमें भी साइंस है कुछ.
Yeah.
When collective praying happens with a really pure heart, it does heal people.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. Yeah. Okay, there's one more paragraph, right?
Anji. Aditi, one who eats the eater, Hiranyagarbha is called here as Aditi because he is the sole enjoyer of the whole universe. As he is the macrocosmic life or the cosmic prana or the cosmic intelligence. All the joys enjoyed by every living form are a joy registered in the lived, in the cosmic mind or the total mind. This is verily that Brahman which thou hast asked for.
So ye etad vaitad, he's just telling you that what I'm discussing over here, that Aditi and the whole process, wohi Brahman hi hai. That's one point. And then the most important thing over here I found was that all the joys enjoyed by every living form are joy registered in the lived, in the cosmic mind and total mind. So that's where I was telling you that whatever we think, it does affect the whole universe. And the example given by somebody was kind of interesting. It's more like a concept in our head than maybe I tell you the example. Suppose there is this big ocean is there, right? If I put a drop of water from outside in it, in essence, it has affected the whole ocean. It may be extremely minute, but it has gone into the whole ocean. See what I'm saying? Same way when we are thinking something, it is part of the total mind.
See, when we were young, we were told, किसी की बुराई मत करो.
Right.
चाहे पीठ पीछे आगे भी, क्योंकि even पीठ पीछे जब बुराई करते हो, तो it affects the universe.
हाँ, दोनों टाइम पे अफेक्ट करेगा, बट पीठ पीछे तो इसलिए बुरा बताया गया है बिकॉज अपना मन खराब होता है.
Right.
And we are just gossiping about other people. And then it is a holier than thou attitude of ours that, hey, I am so great. And if I'm saying burai of other people, I may be thinking I'm great, right? And that was one point. But the psychological truth is even more interesting. And in even the West, has kind of said that this is what they said कि अगर किसी और में बुराई नजर आती है ना, that means that same problem is within you.
Yeah.
That's why you can recognize in the other people.
Right.
नहीं तो तुमको दिखाई भी नहीं देगी बुराई, because तुमको मालूम ही नहीं है कि वो बुराई होती है. Think about this. It's a very psychological fact that we never think about it that way, because it's just holier than thou attitude that we have, that I'm very good but others have all problem. But it's exactly the opposite. That person may not have that problem, but because you have it, तभी कोई एक किसी को अगर ब्राइब देने की आदत है तो उसको सब लगते हैं कि सभी चोर हैं. मैं किसी को भी ब्राइब दे सकता हूँ, because वो शायद खुद ले लेगा वो. That's why. Yeah, there are some people who say, दुनिया में ना इतने खराब लोग हैं. But if you really think about it, there are more good people in the world than bad. Bad people are very few. Most of them are pretty good. But if that person has a negative thing, he thinks. So there is one very beautiful drishtant. I like this. See if you like it. So it seems that there was one man who was moving from one town to another. Right? So when he reached the border, he asked somebody over there who was standing there, who was like a wise man, hey, इस नए टाउन में लोग अच्छे हैं या बुरे हैं, कैसे लोग हैं? तो वो बोला कि instead of giving him in the answer, he said, तुम कहाँ से आ रहे हो? तो बोला मैं फलाने टाउन से आ रहा हूँ. तो बोले वहाँ पर अच्छे लोग हैं या बुरे? So because he said, अगर वो बोलेगा वहाँ अच्छे हैं तो बोले ये भी अच्छे हैं, और वो बोलेगा वहाँ बुरे हैं तो मतलब ये भी तुम्हारे लिए बुराई होगा, क्योंकि बुराई उसके मन में है. I love this dance. So that's the point, So anyway, any other point anybody has, or any discussion on this? Okay, then I can move on to the next one. It's verse 8, and this one cannot be chanted because it's not in that same tune. So aranyo nihito jat veda garbha eva subruto garbhini bhihi dive dive idyo jagruvadbhihi havish madbhihi manushye agnihi. Aitad vaitad. Aranyo is 2 pieces of wood. And then I'm going to explain what they mean by it. It's some kind of a device that they generated fire. Usko arani bolte hain. That is fire sticks. Nihitaha, lodged. Jat Veda is another name for fire. Isko omniscient bola hai, magar fire. Garbha is, like pregnancy, fetus. Eva is like subrutaha, well preserved, well nourished. Garbhini bihi, by pregnant women. Dive dive, day by day. Idyaha, adorable or worshipful. Jagruvad bhihi, by awakened men. Havish madbhihi, by the sacrificial offerers to the sacrificial fire. Sacrificial fire, I don't know pronunciation. Manushye bhihi, by men. Agnihi is god of fire. Aitad, this is very verily tat, that. Aitad veta, we know. So just some background about this, because this is like a Tejamanaji said they used a strange example, but it's a very appropriate example, we'll see. So broadly he said that there are 2 different kinds of people in this world. One are action oriented and one are thinking oriented. We already know. जो एक्शन ओरिएंटेड है ना, दे लव टू वर्क फिजिकली. उनको तुम किताब दे दो तो वो फेंक देंगे, बोलेंगे नहीं मेरे को तो जाके आई वांट टू डू दिस फिजिकल वर्क, एंड द अदर्स आर ऑपोजिट. उनको फिजिकल वर्क करने को बोलो तो बुखार चढ़ेगा, एंड दे कैन सिट एंड read 12 hours a day. My husband is one of them who can read 12 hours a day. All these hard things that he can read it, sit at one place and read. So those 2 kind of people he's talking about. So if you go in the spiritual world with the same idea, so there are people who are karma pradhan, he called them, or Jnana Pradhan. So one is doing action, जिनको पूजा वूजा करना बहुत अच्छा लगता है, Karm Kandi, they love the ritual. I mean, there are people who will spend 2 hours Laddu Gopal ko nehilana, dhulana and all that. And the people who are not into that, they what are they doing over there? हमको समझ में नहीं आएगा क्या कर रहे हैं वो. Because you rather pick up a Bhagavad Gita and read that. But both of them actually are invoking the same God. Their mental makeup is different. That's all. Okay. So keep the two different kinds of people. So the second one, they call it, Teju Menaji called them that who are interested in the inquiry of the truth. They go more by the inquiry route, and these other people go by more ritualistic route. So in the olden days, गृहस्थी जो होते थे ना, वो लोग ना ये यज्ञ करते थे. आज कमला जी नहीं है यहाँ पे. She does very nicely the yagna, she does it. So उसको बोलते थे अग्नि मंथन बोलते थे, जो जब जिसको किंडल करते थे ना वो लोग फायर. So अग्नि मतलब it is supposed to be a very spiritual precious thing, अग्नि. तभी अपने क्या बोलते हैं इंडिया में उसको बोलते हैं ना, शादी भी होते हैं तो अग्नि के साक्षी फेरे लो, राइट? साक्षी करके फेरे लो. अंतिम संस्कार भी अग्नि से होता है. अग्नि इज लाइक द मोस्ट पावरफुल एलिमेंट, होली. एंड देखा ना, सब कुछ भस्म हो जाता है उसमें. सो कोई भी इम्प्योरिटी नहीं रहती है. वेदर इट्स द वुड इज डर्टी वुड और क्लीन वुड, अग्नि विल मेक इट पवित्र. तो जिस अग्नि का जो इम्पोर्टेंस है ना वो बताया गया है. सो जब वो लोग हवन करते थे ना, तो वो लोग मैच बॉक्स से जैसे हम लोग जलाते हैं आजकल, वैसे नहीं जलाते थे वो लोग. दे हैड दिस डिवाइस. इट सीम्स आई वाज ट्राइंग टू लुक एट द पिक्चर. देयर आर 2 पार्ट्स ऑफ द डिवाइस, 2 वुडन पार्ट्स, और उसको अरणी बोलते हैं. तो एक होता है लोअर अरणी और एक अपर अरणी. उसका फ्रिक्शन से, और एक कोई इट सीम्स कि एक सिलेंडर होता है, और वो सिलेंडर में जैसे कि बोलते हैं ना कि मक्खन निकालते थे पुराने ज़माने में, वैसा इमेजिन करो. वैसे ही वो अग्नि को प्रज्वलित करने के लिए दे यूज्ड टू हैव दिस 2 वुडन पीसेस विद द चर्निंग. इट सीम्स दैट यू नीडेड 2 people to do that. One holding one thing and another one churning. And by churning very fast these 2 wooden things, and they used to put some kind of a little cotton, very जो जल्दी जो sparks निकलते थे उसमें से, in other words, and वो cotton used to catch that spark. Then they used to use that cotton to start the Havan Kund, because they are trying to invoke this Agni Devta like this. That was the ritual in those days. So उसको बोलते थे अग्नि मंथन, churning of the fire, and the lower arni and upper arni, जब उसको चर्न करते हैं तब फायर निकलती है, और वो फायर representing that Brahman. So they knew very well. That's why a fire is considered so holy. And actually, in chapter 15 of Bhagavad Gita, it's going to come when Krishna Bhagwan is going to tell Arjun that सूर्य का तेज भी मैं हूँ, अग्नि का तेज भी मैं हूँ, और लाइटनिंग का, सॉरी, पहले सूर्य देवता बोला, फिर उन्होंने बोला लाइटनिंग में भी मैं ही हूँ, अग्नि में भी मैं ही हूँ, और तुम्हारे अंदर भी मैं ही हूँ, बिकॉज वी नीड जठरा अग्नि टू डाइजेस्ट अवर फूड. Our body temperature is kept at a certain level. That is also done by God only. So this Agni is all representative of that Lord only, manifestation of that Lord. That's why it is most worshipful, because they look at it as Lord only. But how does this fit into the other kind of people who are knowledge seekers, or who are doing inquiry? This example fits in there too. Instead of doing Agni Manthan, they are doing Jnana Manthan. ज्ञान को मथ रहे हैं वो लोग. कैसे मथ रहे हैं? अपर अरणी इज द गुरु और उसके विचार, एंड लोअर अरणी इज द शिष्य. So you're churning the ideas into your mind, what you're learning from Bhagavad Gita or your gurus or some wise person, and वो विचारों का मंथन तुम कर रहे हो, उसमें भी चर्निंग हो रही है माइंड में, आत्मा और अनात्मा की, रियल एंड अनरियल की चर्निंग हो रही है. वो चर्निंग से फायर ऑफ नॉलेज इज किंडल्ड अकॉर्डिंग टू दिस. ओके, तो फायर ऑफ नॉलेज इज, तभी उसको बोलते हैं कि नॉलेज को भी फायर से रिप्रेजेंट किया गया. भगवान ने भगवद गीता में भी ही हैज यूज्ड दिस एग्जांपल. So what happens with that fire? What gets burnt in that fire? Your ignorance, wrong notions get burnt. Okay? So this अरणी जो बताया उसका दोनों पे वो लागू करेगा, like this example. And then what kind of knowledge comes out of this churning of the people who are doing this manthan, that Satchidanand Brahman alone I am. And that is also everybody in this universe, So that oneness also firstly recognizing that that's what I am, and then. But here in this verse, they are telling you that the fire for those कर्म कांडीज जो हवन में फायर करते हैं, उनके लिए वो फायर बहुत सेक्रेट है, क्योंकि it represents Brahman only. और ज्ञानियों के लिए जो churning of the fire of knowledge is sacred, because through that knowledge you are understanding consciousness. So that's the analogy. So with that background, no, there are some more points, sorry, before reading. So there is one word here, Jataveda, in this verse. Jataveda is the name of fire. And then it also says that this Agni is Arani mein nihit hai. Nihit means unmanifested form mein hai. So the fire is in the whole cosmos in unmanifested form, but with the proper, kya bolna chahiye, process, it gets manifested. That's why we call it the firewood. Why do we call firewood? It's easy to invoke fire in a wood. Wood ko zara sa bhi fek do, dry wood ko, it will catch fire. That's why we call it, because fire is within it. Okay? So what Tejomananji was saying, we also have aranis in modern world, but we just call them matchboxes. Because we are taking one and striking the other, right? They were just doing it this way, but here we are doing this, but it is arani only. And in this verse is saying, you have to practice kindling this fire. Dive means every day. So I didn't know this, but he said कि ये जो यज्ञ होता था ना, वो हाउस होल्डर लिटरली एवरी डे करते थे. So some or the other yagna they used to do, because it has to be do it every day. ज्ञानी को भी वो करना पड़ेगा. Churning of the vichar, if you want to reach some higher state, you'll have to do it every day. That's why day by day. And then there are two adjectives. Who is doing it? Either the yajman or the yagna is doing it, or the jnani, jnani yogi bol do usko, the one who is trying to go to the path of this, knowledge. He is doing it. Usko two adjectives unko bataya gaya hai. एक है जागृत भी, and one is havishmat bhi. So jagrut is, person has to be very alert and awake. To do this by knowledge, you have to be alert and awake, and also by doing that other agni, you have to be alert and awake, because वहाँ से कब वो निकलेगी अग्नि और कब जल्दी से cotton लाना पड़ेगा and all that, you have to be alert. नहीं तो I saw it once in my life. There was this one Swami here in Santa Barbara. He was doing a havan. He actually used that arani, and it took a long time, because people were not used to doing it, but it actually happened. It took him literally half an hour, and then they were chanting some Agni mantra and this and that, to facilitate it, and it was quite a scene, I've never seen otherwise in my life to do this. So what Tejomananji was explaining, these two words and some saints use it two different ways. One is alert, And the other one is Havishmadvi is ready for with all the material, prepared for it. That's what it's called. And he gave the example that the reason you have to be prepared, because otherwise it won't happen. It'll slip. Even knowledge may be aisa hai ki you have to be alert and you have to be prepared with all the tools, whatever the guru has given. And the example he gave was a very good one. He's saying that जब सर्जन सर्जरी करता है ना, तो उसके आसपास की नर्सेस को एकदम प्रिपेयर होना पड़ता है. ही जस्ट पुट्स द हैंड लाइक दैट एंड दे नो व्हाट टू पुट देयर. सो ही थिंक जब हवन कर रहे होते हैं ना, तो बोलते हैं अच्छा घी लाओ, फ्लावर लाओ, तैयारी नहीं हो तो फिर वो होएगा ही नहीं. How can you do the proper havan? And it's like, okay, our Geeta class. Okay, you got to come on time. Firstly, you got to read the message. Some people started trying at 11 o'clock. 2-3 people had happened. You got to read the message. Then you got to come with the book. Then you come on time. Then you will get the knowledge. Preparation, okay? When you are saying swaha, the material has to be ready. Otherwise, bujh jayegi agni. If you don't keep putting the, havan samagri, it will get extinguished. Same thing is. And the other idea is, okay, it should be worshipped, because it's a manifestation of Paramatma. So how do we worship? That's where this example is given. You have to tend to that Agni like a pregnant woman tends to its fetus. And Swamiji was saying that, through this verse, it's because it's telling you that usko ekdam prem se tum manage karo usko, wo us agni ko. Jaise ki ek woman jab usko pata chalta hai ki she's pregnant, all of a sudden he said her whole persona changes. She will think more about the fetus now and worry about it, and then she will eat well and she will read good books and all that, if it's a good person. He's saying there are some crazy women who might still smoke and drink and all. We're not talking about those. In fact, Tejavanaji went one step further and he's saying after reading this, whoever is not doing should start doing that, the pregnant woman. And he said even husband has a responsibility to keep the woman cheerful. Or his responsibility goes up too. So he said this strange example is given, but very appropriate, that just like a pregnant woman manages her fetus, that's how you manage this fire, number one. Because if you see God in that fire, that's what he's trying to tell you. It's not that fire per se, but fire is representation of God. And I remember that Swami who did that manthan and all that, उसने ना 12 बजे पूर्णाहुति की दोपहर के. And he said कि ये जो अग्नि यहाँ पर आई है ना, ये सूर्य देवता से आई है. Because at that time I could not understand, but it's like the whole power on the earth is, all the fire that you see originally has come from the sun, even scientifically speaking. Earth is a part of the sun only, right? So first it was in the sun, then for some reason, pieces got broken from the sun, and then it became earth and other 8 planets. And then whatever heat there is inside our Jwalamukhi, jahan se phatta hai and all the heat comes, actually it's the heat of the sun only. Scientifically it is true, we don't think about it that way. But all these things make you start thinking that way now. So that's what he's talking about. That, and the other very important than what he said, that in the Ved mantra it seems, one of the Ved mantra, it says that the Prajapati himself has become this child for you. So it's child also, हम लोग बोलते हैं वैसे कि child is like a representation of Bhagwan, right? That's why they're so innocent, always smiling, they don't judge anybody and all that. Because he's saying that if you thought that way, that usually parents क्या सोचते हैं, my baby, I'm kind of parent and this and that. He's saying, no, the Prajapati, through Brahman itself has traveled there as a baby. So see Brahman in that baby. Then it is going to be, you will take good care of it. That's what he was talking about. So most important thing that comes through this is that Lord alone in different, the Agni form and the knowledge form is coming to you. And that's why it is, you have to take care of it. And the other point that he mentioned, that just like the fire you take care for the Havan, same way the fire of knowledge you have to take care of it according to him. Usko bujhne mat do. See that analogy now? Once that fire of knowledge is kindled in you, every day you practice to keep it alive. Otherwise, bujh jayegi wo Agni. Especially in the beginning when we are not, somebody who is established in that truth, nothing is going to happen to him. But people like us, if we don't keep that heat on, it will dissipate and again you will go back into the sansar. That's the point he was trying to make. And there is one verse, I think Meena ji is going to know that it is part of that Geeta Dhyanam. I wrote it somewhere over here. It says that कृष्ण भगवान ने वो अग्नि तुम्हारे हृदय में जलाई है ज्ञान की, उसको प्रज्वलित रखो. Okay? If I find it, I will tell you. I don't know where I wrote it. But that's the message it's giving you. That's why I said every day, just like a pregnant woman takes care of her fetus or, every day she has to take care of. Same way, the people who are doing the Havan, they take care of that Agni, because he was just saying that it has to last, that Agni has to last until Purnahuti. If you see, the priest will make every possible attempt कि वो बुझे नहीं Agni, because it's supposed to be a bad thing अगर बीच में हवन के बुझ जाए or something. तभी वो दिखाते हैं ना कि जब असुरों और वो देवताओं में लड़ाई होती है तो अगर उनको if they want to mess up the हवन तो पानी डाल देंगे उसमें, and the guy say, oh my God, now I can't do it anymore. बुझने मत दो अग्नि. That's one. And then जो लोग ज्ञान के पीछे जा रहे हैं उनको ज्ञान की अग्नि बुझने मत दो. Every day you tend to it. That's the whole idea. And he's saying that this Agni is that Brahman. Aitad Vaitad. That's what this verse is saying. Any question, comment, or anybody wants to add anything? Who would like to read? Meena ji, you want to read?
As the fetus is well preserved by the pregnant women, the omniscient fire that lodged within 2 pieces of wood, fire sticks, is worshipped day after day, both by awakened men and by the sacrificial offerers. This is indeed that.
They were talking about 2 different kind of people, awakened men, और यहाँ पर बोला ज्ञानी और सन्यासी. बेसिकली जो लोग ज्ञान मार्ग के ऊपर हैं, sacrificial offerers जो रिचुअल करके भगवान को पूजते हैं.
The Brahman of the Jnanis and the fire of the householders are the same in the sense that all worship reaches the same source of all blessings, the Supreme.
So that we discussed in detail, right? Yes. Yeah, both are. And that's why some people who kind of sneer at other kind of worship, we shouldn't be doing that, because they are doing the same thing. That's the mind makeup they have. So somebody does some ritual or some puja or something, they are invoking Bhagwan only. You may be in a different way, but both are valid.
True, but unless you know what the fire stands for, people do Havan without realizing it.
True.
And the ones who do it realizing that there is going to be a difference.
Yes.
What the end result is going to be.
You are absolutely right. And when we grew up with Havan बोल के हम लोग को मालूम भी नहीं था. Havan का ह भी क्या होता है, right? everybody did it, so we're doing it. True. So that's why you have these Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita and all that explains. Then you have so much reverence for it.
Yes,
Right?
definitely.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it was just fire and the Pandit said some mantras and then it was done. Okay, we're supposed to put that, samagri, okay, dal do.
Exactly. I am with you 100%. And it's so nice to know. Look at
Yes.
if it's a representation. And once you